Olivia finally finished washing the last dish from a large pile of dirty dishes and breathed a sigh of relief. She wiped her sweaty forehead with the sleeve of her robe. She had been working at the fancy restaurant The King's Crown for the past 2 months. Work there was non-stop. Olivia's responsibility included not only cleaning the kitchen but also taking out the garbage and doing the dishwashing. She also had to sweep the patio of their restaurant every morning, since the janitor only cleaned the main entrance of the establishment. Despite all of her responsibilities, Olivia was only paid a modest salary. It was just enough to support her 2 children and pay for her rented house. And by the time she came home in the evening, she was too exhausted to cook or help her kids with their homework, but she had no choice but to push herself more forth. This difficult situation was a result of her being a single mother growing up in an orphanage. Olivia always dreamed of having a big loving family. After graduating, she was fortunate to meet her soulmate Wyatt, a kind and caring person. They got married and eventually had twin boys Noah and Liam, who became the most precious treasure in their family. Despite working tirelessly as a taxi driver, Wyatt struggled to provide for his family, as his own parents were unable to offer any support due to their alcoholism. Despite the challenges, the young family did their best to make ends meet with money Wyatt earned from cab driving, since she couldn't afford to leave her kids and find work. The financial responsibility of supporting her family fell solely on Wyatt. He went to great lengths to earn as much as possible, working night shifts and even breaking cab driving rules by working illegally. Despite his efforts, the percentage of income from driving a taxi was small. Unfortunately, one day Wyatt fell asleep at the wheel from exhaustion and got into a fatal accident. The death of her husband was a devastating blow for Olivia. She was now left alone to raise her 2 young children, who were just starting first grade, without any help or support. Overcoming her own shyness and fear of leaving her sons alone, Olivia began to slowly earn money in low-paying jobs. At first, she would go door to door twice a day distributing flyers and free newspapers and mailboxes. She also put up ads and special stands near public transportation stops. Although the pain was minimal, these jobs helped Olivia and her family to survive. 3 years have passed since her husband's death. Olivia still thought of it every day and missed him greatly. However, her 2 beautiful sons helped her to keep going and not give up. Getting a job in the restaurant was a stroke of luck for Olivia. Although the pay was still low, it was much more than what she had been earning by posting ads. This was more important for her. At that time, she had grown accustomed to the various difficulties of making ends meet. Working as a dishwasher didn't seem so bad to her. The only thing that constantly worried Olivia was the way her sons Noah and Liam were treated at school. They were often bullied and made fun of because of their family's poverty and modest position. Asile children dressed as simply as possible, practical trousers and sweater sheep cotton shirts. If something got her, she would try to fix it instead of buying new clothes. The only thing Olivia couldn't control was time, as her children inevitably grew, needed new clothes and shoes that fit them. Unfortunately, Olivia herself couldn't afford to buy even the simplest new blouse and had to make do with worn-out clothes that were close to falling apart. Your last name should have been broken. Rich Noah and Liam were teased by their wealthier class. Modesty children didn't understand that their family was forced to live modestly against their will. Look at them, they can even afford a donut. Their classmates laughed at the brothers in school cafeteria. Get out of here, you bastards. How do I know? Maybe you're stealing from others while you're standing in line. You are not getting anything anyway. Get out of here. It was very painful for Olivia to hear sick accusations against her children, but the school administration was indifferent. Or don't know why the other kids are behaving like that. Maybe your children did something to provoke them, they said. Olivia often wished she could take her twin sons and enroll them in a school far away where they wouldn't be bullied because of their difficult situation. However, she knew she didn't have the means to do so at the moment. Even though the school the boys attended was close to their home, Olivia still held onto the hope that one day she would be able to break free from the daily struggles they faced. In the meantime, she did her best to comfort her voice and support the Monday. While cleaning the restaurant, Olivia noticed several plates of leftover food in a corner of the kitchen. Next to the garbage can. Upon closer inspection, she realized that these were not just scraps of cold food. Many of the dishes were still untouched. Customers had paid for them and then for some reason left them unneeded. Now they were about to be thrown away. Among the leftovers were not only cold appetizers and cheese plates, but also side dishes, pasta, soup, and even broccoli mashed potatoes. As Olivia looked at the edible treasure, her stomach growled loudly. She hadn't eaten since the previous night and had given the last bit of fridge to to her children for dinner with undisguised appetite. She looked at the plates of food. After a moment of thought, she quickly took out a couple of empty plastic containers from the refrigerator and began to transfer the leftover food into them. Today my children will not go hungry or have to eat thick porridge with water again. She thought today they will eat until their food was excited. That evening the Ritchie twins got Tote's cheese and real meat sausage. They devoured the containers of streets that their mother had brought for them with incredible speed. Olivia, on the other hand, wept with happiness seeing the healthy color and flesh slowly appearing on the pale and thin faces of her children. She couldn't swallow a couple of spoonfuls of vegetable puree as she was overwhelmed with the emotions from then on. Every evening Olivia would discreetly take away the dishes that their restaurant guests had barely touched and bring them home to feed her. Sanch would only take what the guests had clearly refused to eat and never took what was prepared for future service. He knew that the customers who refused food they had paid for wouldn't ask for it again. The main patrons of the King's Crown were usually very wealthy people for whom the cost of a refused dish was insignificant. They could spend hundreds of dollars in any evening in a restaurant and not considered as significant expension. Day Olivia took in a stray dog Thatch had found in a garbage yard near her house. Cooper was very handsome and obedient. His shaggy ears were constantly twitching in different directions as if was trying to catch all the sounds around him. His black eyes shone defiantly whenever he saw Olivia or her twins. At first Olivia had simply fed the poor animal on the street, but her children eventually convinced her to take him home, especially since she had grown attached to him. Chef Fred and the waitresses at the restaurant laughed at Olivia. They didn't know she had children and thought she was taking the food home for her dog. And she's like a skeleton herself. Fred would sometimes joke it would be better if Olivia herself ate something. She just gives everything to her dog. For several months everything went well until the King's Crown changed hands. A man named Stephen Brooks became the new owner of the restaurant. They was young and ambitious but had an obsessive desire to control everything and everyone. As a businessman, he was afraid that his restaurant would be constantly robbed by his own employees, and that's why he moved from the big city to the province, trying to prevent theft before it could happen more. Brooks installed several video cameras throughout the establishment and personally monitored the employees who, when had the chance on evening while staying late at work, saw on the monitor how Olivia was taking leftovers of food that customers had not finished yet. Saw her putting them in containers and leaving with them. Outraged by what saw as her audacity, Steve immediately talismaned the chef and pointed to the video, and then he started questioning him. What the hell is this, Fred? The owner asked, clearly upset. He gave you the race you asked for, and this is how you repay me, handing me a pig in a dishwasher's ropery. Is this woman taking food out of the kitchen so easily? Did you let her? The chef turned pale-headed, not expect the owner to be so angry over some food. Well, Mr. Brooks, Fred began hesitantly, I mean, we got paid for that food. These leftovers were just going to be thrown away in the morning. At least now she'll be able to feed her mouth. And Fred seemed to have an epiphany and quickly added, you know what, I don't know, Olivia's almost always the last one to leave, so I don't know, we should check on her. The chef eloquently fell silent. Brooks let Fred go and began to ponder. The only way to stop the increasing thefts would be for him to personally confront the dishwasher and shame her if need be. He would even threaten her with firing, determined to get to the bottom of things. The businessman located Olivia's home address, got into his car and headed straight to her house. In the way, he spent a long time rehearsing his speech in which he would berate the woman for her petty theft. So pictured himself saying, what were you doing there, young lady? How can you so easily take and steal food from the restaurant kitchen? Sir, maybe it's leftovers for which the full amount of the bill has already been paid, but how can you feed raw food to a dog? You understand that some waste is tolerable, but these ingredients are expensive. The economy is in crisis right now. Food prices are exorbitant, and what you're doing is equivalent to stealing money from the company. Mr. Brooks was approaching the house. He didn't realize it. He had driven to the outskirts of the city to one of the poorest and most run-down neighborhoods. As he climbed the worn-out stairs, Brooks hesitantly rang the doorbell. A second later, Olivia herself answered at the door. She quickly silenced her barking dog and looked in surprise at her unexpected late-night guest. Good afternoon. Brooks began briskly. Are you Olivia Ritchie? If I'm not mistaken. Olivia continued to look at him with a confused expression. Finally, the bewildered woman replied, yes, it's me, but who are you? Forgive me for asking. Olivia had not yet met the new owner of the restaurant and therefore didn't know had he looked like. Oh, I apologize for coming at this hour. I'm the new owner of the King's Crown. I have a very serious conversation with you. May I come in? Doc continued to bark. Olivia struggled to calm the animal before she could let the businessman inside. He was inside Mer Brooks immediately noticed the difficult conditions the family was living under. The hallway had sagging wallpaper and an old electric floor lamp instead of a chandelier, meaning to Mr. Brooks looked past Olivia and saw a small square kitchenware. To his great surprise, two twin boys were sitting happily eating thievery leftovers from the restaurant. Mer Brooks got surprised. You have a children? Yes, as you can see, Olivia answered calmly. Mer Brooks went pale. Oh my God, I'm really sorry. I came here to reprimand you. I thought you were stealing fruit from the kitchen and feeding it to your dog. I'm really sorry. Had no idea you had children. Oh yeah, those were for my children, Olivia said with a bitter smile. Our guests hardly tried these dishes, and at the end of the shift me or Fred still had to dispose of them. Please understand, I would never have done this if it were dishes intended for customers, but after all the customers themselves refused them after paying for them. I mean, in terms of money, the restaurant doesn't suffer any losses. Mr. Brooks felt extremely embarrassed. Oh no, don't worry, it's all good, you know what, let's do it this way, let me just go and I'll see you tomorrow. Joaquin, I'm really sorry again for bothering you this late. Yeah, take care guys. He apologized edibly and left Olivia's apartment quickly. Following day, Mer Brooks decided to do something he has never done before. That day, he woke up early and was in a great mood. She was excited about work since the restaurant was something he really enjoyed growing. He put on his best outfit as he was accustomed to doing it whenever he was in a good mood. As he arrived at the restaurant, he immediately headed for the kitchen. Everybody was doing their jobs. Fred was quickly giving orders to other workers to prepare salads and sauce. Miranda, who was one of the oldest waitresses, greeted Mer Brooks with her broad smile. Good morning, Mr. Brooks. Would you like your hot chocolate? As usual, she said. No, I'm good today. I'll actually take wine, but later you look special today. Miranda said, thanks. I feel special. Mer Brooks normally did a briefing every morning with all the staff, but today he headed straight to the kitchen. As Olivia was dealing with another pile of dishes, Brooks walked in and asked her to come to his office. Olivia's heart dropped. She didn't know how it was going to happen. She made eye contact with Miranda, who just smiled back at her. Don't worry, I don't think he's going to fire you. I'll tell you more, he kind of seems different. Olivia knocked in Steven's office and asked if she could come in. There was a loud sound inside his office as he jumped out from his desk and ran to the door. Yes, Olivia, please come and take a seat. How are you two? Dick and complain. Got a pile of dishes to go to do. Of course. Hey, listen, I apologize for last night once again. Don't worry, it's all right. Thank you for letting me take the leftovers. It's really helping me a lot. Oh man, I think you shouldn't take the leftovers anymore, Olivia. In fact, you know what, I'll take care of the food for your kids. All right. Oh, Mr. Brooks, you don't have to. Olivia, call me Steven, please take this. He handed her an envelope with cash. This my salary. I think it's too much. It's only the beginning of the month. No, that's your bonus for doing so many dishes. Olivia knew that she really needed the money, but she felt so embarrassed at that moment. She asked Steven if there's more work she can do in the restaurant to pay back, to which Steven said, there is something you can do for Maida. You think you and the twins can accompany me on a trip somewhere? Long story short, she came out of Steven's office beaming with light. Miranda noticed it and smiled gently. From then on, Steven tried to help her all the time. Eventually, the dishwasher and the restaurant owner developed more serious feelings for each other. Although Olivia knew that Steven could never replace her children's father, she still considered them a kind and loving person for her and her kids. Meanwhile, Steven was still trying to reduce the financial losses in his restaurant. The true culprit behind the theft of valuable goods was finally discovered. He was the chef. Fred was an excellent chef, but it turned out he had some problems with local gangsters. Before coming to work in the King's Crown, he had worked as a chef of a gang leader at his house. He made good friends and started dealing drugs as a side hustle, but soon he had accumulated it with drug dealers and was unable to pay them back a large sum. As a punishment, they obliged him to find products and cook at the gang's leader's house until he repays his debt. As a result, he began stealing high-end items from the kitchen. Fred was caught on camera while he was taking expensive fish from the fridge. After everything that had come up, Fred was expecting to be fired immediately. Liston called Fred to his office and they talked. We didn't you tell me? Steve began. I'm sorry, Steve. I used him. Sorry, was gonna say it, but I was just desperate. These guys, they were threatening to hurt my family. We didn't you go to the policeman? These are serious matters. You can't just try to fix things by stealing. Manfred was one of the best chefs in town. Before Steve became successful in the city he used to live in, this town has started his journey with a food cart. Fred was the first employee that Steve had hired. Fred just loved his job and often went the extra mile to help Steve when Steve decided to move to the city. They fell off for a while. Fred Urian. Of the best chefs, I've known you since we were young. I want to trust you. Alright, yeah, Steve didn't get me wrong, man. I'm not making millions here, but I'm going to give you another chance. You've been really good to me and helped me a lot when I was starting out. I will never forget that, but please be honest with me. Okay, sure, Steve, thank you so much. Oh, much what? What's your debt? Oh, it's 20 grand, man. Alright, consider recovered. I'm gonna talk to them. Steve didn't want to fire Fred also because if he wasn't stealing, he wouldn't have ended up learning more about Olivia and her sons, and now he was seriously considering proposing to Olivia and adopting Noah, and Lime had asked Olivia to move into his place with the boys. They all now live together in a large, spacious apartment. Stefan's heart was completely healed. Ash had divorced his wife 6 months ago because she cheated on him with his business partner. Now, after some time, Thebas and Esmond was ready for a serious genuine relationship, and so he decided to go too far and chose the pure and honest love of Olivia. What are your thoughts on the story and characters? How would you handle things differently? Share your thoughts, as they may be helpful for those experiencing difficult times. If you enjoyed the story, please consider liking and subscribing for more stories. Click the notification bell button. Thank you, and we'll see you soon.